Hello class, my name is Chloe Fetters and today I am going to teach you about Clostridium Difficile, otherwise known as C. diff or hand-mouth disease. I'm going to go over the overview of what it is, the symptoms, the treatment, who is at risk, which will tie to the prevalence and prognosis that we've been doing in our project discussions. And lastly, just also how to prevent and treat it. So my dad works for Clorox Healthcare. And as we all know, we are in currently a pandemic, and hospitals are struggling with COVID-19. I chose this disease because I don't think it's a common disease that people are aware of, but it's very serious, and there are a lot of patients in hospitals that are diagnosed with this disease. So what is C. diff? C. diff is basically a bacterial disease that takes place in your large intestine. Basically what happens is if you don't wash your hands and you touch a surface that has not been cleaned, and also too before you eat, the bacteria that C. diff produces are in spores, and these spores exist on surfaces and also on your hands if you don't wash your hands. And so what happens is once you swallow these pores, then you start to have systems like diarrhea, fever, severe dehydration, and nausea. And so then what happens is, so for treatment, as you can see here under transmission and treatment, is doctors will give you a group of antibiotics, such they are called fluoroquinolones typically, but something that happens with patients who have C. diff is they are more likely to get C. diff again if not treated appropriately. Probably wondering what I mean by that. So what happens is, say you're diagnosed with C. diff. The doctors will prescribe one of these antibiotics in the group that I just said. Something that happens though is, yes, with these antibiotics, some patients have developed bacteria or antibiotic resistant, which we've kind of talked about in class or one of our previous discussion posts. And so then those patients are more likely to get C. diff again. So what a last resort treatment is basically getting a fecal transplant. Obviously, from the name, yes, basically you are getting healthy poop from another human being into your system, so you can try to flush out C. diff and the bad bacteria that exists. So how do we prevent C. diff? Well, it comes as easy as please just wash your hands after the bathroom or before you eat. And also too on that, yes, this was the only kind of PDF that I could find. I know that this is a treatment sign, but this does list the basic stuff about this disease. And so basically what you can do is, it doesn't have to be Clorox healthcare products, but yes, bleach is one of the best ones. And so do clean your surfaces. That means your bathrooms and even your sink, so then you can prevent yourself from getting C. diff. Another thing that can happen is, so if your symptoms do persist, usually you will see abdominal cramping, blood, or pus in your stool, or you could have, swollen abdomen, a swollen abdomen, kidney failure, or otherwise other kind of lower pain in that area. And then next, so what I'm going to talk about is, so who is at risk? So typically people over the age of 65 are diagnosed according to the CDC, which Clorox gets their information from the CDC. And I can show you another PDF here in another in a second here. Hopefully you guys can see this. So here's another PDF. It's from the CDC. So again, you can see that this information is very much the same. Um, some facts that I have from Clorox and CDC is almost 500,000 infections in the United States a year. About 1 in 6 patients who get C. diff, again, will get it like the second time around 2 to 8 weeks. So C. diff is just, it is kind of a disease that it does take some time to go away. It's very serious. And yes, people can be in hospitals for a very long time. And also, too, if hospitals don't do their job with disinfecting and cleaning their hospital rooms, then that is another obvious way of why, if you're diagnosed with C. diff, you wouldn't get any better. And so lastly, I'm just going to kind of go over the prevalence and prognosis. So C. diff, according to another article that was not Clorox or the CDC, but it is a worldwide disease, just because of the significant, in quotes, morbidity and mortality worldwide. Just again, I hope you learned something today of, this is like a very serious disease that not most people know about, but there are millions of people dying in hospitals from it. And so it's very important that hospitals are doing their jobs and cleaning, but then also too, you can prevent this from home by washing your hands and just making sure that you clean your surfaces so you don't digest the bacteria spores or spread it to other surfaces. Another fact, lastly, is nearly 500,000 Americans suffer from CDI annually, with 1 in 5 having recurrent disease. So again, this is from the CDC and Clorox. The CDI is responsible for over 23 deaths annually and over 4.6 billion in treatment costs. I just want to point that out. That is like definitely stuff for hospitals. This is something that my dad deals with every day, and he also teaches trainings on UV lights and also some of the health grade bleach wipes, or he has it's called a 360T spray machine that is supposed to disinfect the hospital rooms. And so he does those trainings for the nurses and doctors. He has done one at Children's Hospital. He's done one at the new VA down in Aurora. And so again, if hospitals aren't cleaning their services or their rooms, the more patients or people will have C. diff. So hopefully, again, you learned some good stuff. Again, if you learned anything from this, please, whatever you do, just wash your hands when you go to the restroom. Even after you clean, even after using bleach products. And again, Clorox and the CDC are available on this disease. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.